Redefining strength, how adversity builds unbreakable families. Every child deserves a father. Every family needs two parents. A broken home means a broken future. These are the lies we've been told, the myths we've swallowed whole, the poison that has seeped into our collective consciousness and corrupted how we view strength, resilience, and what makes a family whole. I recently had the profound privilege of interviewing Shanna Huff, a visionary leader whose work with marginalized communities has transformed thousands of lives across this country. Her insights have completely revolutionized how I understand family, resilience, and what true strength actually looks like in Black communities. What Shauna revealed cuts against everything our society wants us to believe about what makes a family whole or broken. The truth: the most powerful families aren't defined by who's missing. They're defined by who remains, who fights, who adapts, and who refuses to surrender to circumstances. Let that sink in for a moment. We've been fed this narrative that families in marginalized Black communities are somehow inherently damaged, doomed to perpetual cycles of failure because fathers are absent or because systemic barriers are too high. It's not just wrong, it's destructive. It's a lie that ignores the extraordinary resilience, resourcefulness, and leadership demonstrated every single day by single mothers and their children navigating impossible odds. These families aren't defined by loss or chaos. They're defined by survival, adaptation, and an unbreakable drive to create better futures despite overwhelming odds. As Shauna so eloquently put it, we aren't broken, we're battle tested. The data tells us something powerful, but rarely acknowledged. 80% of Black mothers in single parent households successfully raise children who become productive, contributing members of society. Yet we fixate on the 20% who struggle. Why? Because deficit narratives serve those who benefit from our communities remaining marginalized. Because stories of failure reinforce existing power structures. Because acknowledging our strength threatens a system built on our perceived weakness. Let me share three fundamental truths that emerged from my conversation with Shauna that will forever change how you view family strength and resilience. First, true family strength isn't dictated by traditional structures. It's forged through adversity, mutual support, and relentless determination. The single mother working three jobs while pursuing her degree isn't failing her family. She's demonstrating extraordinary commitment that teaches her children what real love looks like in action. She's showing them that obstacles are not dead ends, but detours on the path to greatness. Second, systemic barriers, whether in business or personal life, can be overcome with intentional community support, innovative thinking, and unwavering self belief. The walls aren't coming down on their own. We must be strategic, resourceful, and united in dismantling them. Every generation must learn to navigate these barriers while simultaneously working to tear them down for those who follow. Third, the absence of external help does not mean the absence of hope. Black professionals can and do build legacies through collective action, mentorship networks, and strategic use of available resources. We've never had the luxury of waiting for permission or assistance. Our power comes from creating solutions where none existed before, from turning no into watch me. Consider the remarkable story of Sheila Ellis Glasper. After facing repeated rejections for business funding due to her status as a minority entrepreneur in Kansas, Sheila didn't retreat. She didn't internalize the rejection as a reflection of her worth or potential. Instead, she founded Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills, BEFH, a network specifically designed to close capital gaps for local Black entrepreneurs. Sheila was denied grants because she wasn't a local resident, despite living just outside the qualifying boundary lines. She encountered the banking discrimination that's all too familiar to Black entrepreneurs, who are twice as likely to be denied loans compared to their white counterparts. But rather than accepting this reality, she created an entirely new reality. Realizing that self funding was often the only option for minorities like herself, Sheila built BEFH as a catalyst for economic empowerment in her region. The organization now provides funding access guidance while fostering mentorship among members. After years of struggling against systemic exclusion from financial networks and seeing others make desperate sacrifices, like risking their parents' retirement funds, Sheila's vision grew from necessity into advocacy. Today, BEFH has helped dozens secure capital they otherwise would never have accessed while building solidarity among isolated entrepreneurs. The initiative demonstrates how collective action within marginalized communities can bypass institutional barriers and inspire similar movements nationwide. This is what happens when we refuse to accept the narrative that our families and communities are somehow deficient. This is what happens when we recognize that the very challenges meant to break us can become the foundation upon which we build our greatest strengths. The aftermath of 2020 social movements spotlighting racial injustice, including economic disparities, provides another powerful example. Corporate America finally launched grant programs aimed at supporting Black women founders. But let's be clear about the scale of the problem. In 2023 alone, US based Black founders received only 0.48% of total venture capital funding. That's just $661 million dollars out of $136 billion, dollars, reflecting deep rooted inequities that persist despite surface level progress. In response, programs such as Her Rise micro grants offering $1,000 per month, Amber grants providing $10,000 monthly plus $25,000 yearly awards, and Lenovo Evolve Small AI grants delivering $25,000 plus technology now target women of color led businesses specifically with both money and mentorship opportunities. These interventions have increased visibility for underrepresented founders while providing critical early stage cash infusions that enable business survival and growth when other avenues remain closed off. After decades long exclusion from mainstream venture networks left many talented individuals unable even to launch viable companies. These targeted efforts began closing gaps exposed during national reckonings on race and equity issues. The result? Hundreds more women of color owned startups now receive meaningful backing each year, with ripple effects across employment rates and income generation within their communities. But here's what's most relevant to our conversation today. These examples illustrate how intentional resource redistribution empowers those historically unsupported, including single mothers and families overcoming generational trauma. The parallels between business resilience and family resilience are striking and instructive. Numerous studies show that when consumers intentionally direct spending toward local Black owned businesses, including those run by single mothers, the immediate economic impact ripples outward into broader community stability and growth. Exclusion from established professional and investor networks creates knowledge and opportunity gaps. But coordinated consumer action through buying locally plus policy changes help fill these voids over time through direct investment and support mechanisms. Community driven solutions like mentorship circles and cooperative marketing initiatives help break cycles of poverty and disenfranchisement, even amid ongoing structural disadvantages. Sustainable market penetration achieved via grassroots engagement, even when competing against larger brands, is possible when customers buy with purpose, alongside supportive policy frameworks and pipeline development programs. Generations facing suburbs projects, drug epidemics, and family feuds still find ways forward collectively, not just individually, as proven wherever intentional investment meets entrepreneurial grit. We see documented increases in small business survival rates where such ecosystem building strategies take root. Stronger intergenerational wealth transfer possibilities emerge as new narratives replace stories rooted solely in loss and adversity. The impact? Broader shifts toward equity and economic justice across entire regions, not just isolated success stories, with lasting change driven from within rather than imposed externally, as Shauna emphasized during our conversation. When we stop seeing ourselves through the lens of what's missing and start recognizing the extraordinary strength it takes to thrive despite everything stacked against us, we reclaim our power. If more people embraced this view, their strength comes not from ideal circumstances, but from resilience amid hardship, we'd see greater empathy within our communities alongside practical shifts toward investing time, money, and resources into supporting one another directly. Organizations would focus less on deficits like broken homes and more on untapped potential waiting behind every challenge faced by families like Shanna's, with measurable increases in both individual achievement rates and overall community well being resulting over time. This isn't just theory, it's happening right now in communities across America where the narrative is shifting from deficit to potential, from what's missing to what's being built. I challenge you today, not tomorrow, to fundamentally reimagine what strength looks like, to recognize that the most powerful forces in our society aren't those who had every advantage, but those who overcame every disadvantage. To understand that the single mother working three jobs isn't a statistic to be pitied, but a warrior to be honored. Look around you. The people you've been taught to view as broken may be the most whole among us. The families you've been conditioned to see as lacking may possess the very qualities our fractured society desperately needs. Will you have the courage to unlearn what you've been taught about family, about strength, about who deserves your respect and who deserves your pity? Will you recognize that the most profound lessons about resilience often come from those who had no choice but to be resilient? The revolution begins when we stop measuring family strength by who sits at the table and start measuring it by the love, values, and determination cultivated within that home, regardless of its composition. This is not about lowering standards. This is about recognizing that the most extraordinary standards of human excellence have been quietly maintained in the very communities we've been taught to dismiss. The single mother isn't a tragedy, she's a masterclass in determination. The child helping with siblings isn't deprived of childhood, they're developing leadership skills that Harvard Business School can't teach. The grandmother raising her grandchildren isn't a safety net of last resort. She's the living embodiment of intergenerational wisdom and unconditional love. Our communities have never had the luxury of fragility. Our ancestors didn't survive centuries of oppression by being easily broken. They survived by being adaptable, resourceful, and fiercely protective of their own. So I leave you with this. The next time someone speaks of broken homes in our communities, correct them. These homes aren't broken, they're fortresses of resilience. They're incubators of extraordinary human potential. They're proof that love doesn't conform to societal expectations, it transcends them. And that transcendence, that ability to create wholeness from fragments, strength from struggle, and triumph from tragedy, that is the most powerful legacy any family can create. Thank you